The bedrock of Maine has been squeezed and shaped for hundreds of millions of years to become the state we know today. And all that old rock is pretty stable, but we still get a handful of earthquakes a year, like today.
One example, 1995, an earthquake shook much of the greater Portland area. Our Cheryl Doyle wanted to know more about why Maine experiences earthquakes. Take a look.
You think we could ever have an earthquake here in Maine?
It's possible, I suppose. I'm not quite sure, though.
I don't think about it ever. I know there have been.
So, do you think it could happen?
No. No, do you?
Remote. Are we supposed to have one?
I've never really considered it. I don't believe that we'll have one.
The fact is, on average, Maine has about 5 to 10 mild earthquakes a year.
And that's a distant earthquake.
One small earthquake this year happened in Lewiston.
Now, what are we looking at here? It looks like two little ink marks.
Yeah, well, what we've got here is the February 12th 2.8 earthquake in the Lewiston area, and then this is a record of the one that was on February 16th, and this was magnitude 2.7. We would be characterized as moderate seismic activity. We have had damaging earthquakes.
John Ebel is a geophysicist at the Weston Observatory in Massachusetts, where all earthquake activity in New England is recorded.
But what intrigues me about northeastern earthquakes is the fact that this is an area that geologically we would not expect to be seismically active, at least at the level that it is.
Before the first pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, the ground has been active. The Indians told of strange noises and angry gods who shook the land. Settlers felt one of the larger earthquakes in 1755. The tremor rattled from Cape Ann to Boston. Geologists believe it was close to a 6.5 on the Richter scale. It damaged this historic home in Greenland, New Hampshire. Preachers used the disaster to justify God's wrath on sinful worshipers in many sermon books that can still be read today.
I persuade myself that there are none in this assembly under any manner of doubt, but that the late terrible earthquake was the work of God.
One might even remember the earthquake off the coast of Portland on April 26, 1957. It registered 4.7 on the Richter scale and caused some minor damage in local stores. So why do we have earthquakes in Maine? According to Ebel, it's because of plate tectonics, a shifting of the upper crust of the earth. Simply put, the mid-Atlantic ridge is spreading away from Africa and Europe. The other side of this ridge, part of the San Andreas Fault in California, is ramming into the Pacific Ocean plate.
So the middle and eastern part of the country are caught in a squeezing motion, and you can't squeeze rock without having it break sooner or later.
One of the fallacies about why we have earthquakes here in Maine is because we're on a major fault line. Well, it's only half true. We are on a major fault. It's called the Norumbega, and you can see part of it at two lights here in Cape Elizabeth. But it hasn't been active for millions of years.
The fault runs from the Maritimes along the coast of Maine and into New Hampshire and even as far south as Connecticut.
It's an ancient fault zone. It probably was similar to the San Andreas of its time, and that would have been 300 million years ago, would have been the height of its activity.
For geologists, data is limited. Unlike California, it would take us thousands of years to be able to tell when a large earthquake would hit. We simply don't have the frequent activity to gauge as well.
On the other hand, where you have small earthquake activity, sooner or later you're going to have more big earthquakes. And so it's just a matter of time before we have them, but we don't know when.